Hi, Andrew B. It's Marie Shadows, host and the creator of the Square Circle podcast and former WWE employee, and worked on the indies since 2015 and then a little bit more after WWE in 2018. And I have a lot of vlogs, I have a lot of match commentary practices, and a lot of commentary on professional wrestling, including AEW, since I was a day one AEW fan. And now I am at -1% in love with AEW. And I gave my reasons why I am not in love with AEW anymore and hope that they get better. And I will be reading those comments as well on this podcast episode. But I just wanted to introduce myself to you formally because it seems like your quote tweet to me yesterday was, well, we're going to get into it on this episode of the Square Circle podcast. As always, ladies and gentlemen, if you are listening for the first time, welcome. If you are been with me since day one, welcome as well. Make sure to like, share this out, and you can leave a comment on this podcast episode on Spotify. Spotify now accepts comments. And also on YouTube, because this is going to go up on YouTube. Oh, and by the way, that is youtube.com/squared circle podcast. Again, I am Marie Shadows, and I love what I do, and I talk about professional wrestling in a way where I give different perspectives, and I dive deep into New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I did do video essays on AEW when, again, I was in love with them with the story, and a new voice could have helped the whole entire IWC. And I'm not just saying my voice. There are other voices out there in the IWC that do talk about AEW and that have good points about AEW and that can definitely mesh well with the energy that JD gives on his programming. Now, this podcast episode is not to be a personal attack on JD from New York and Andrew. I will say that again. This is not a personal attack kind of podcast episode. What this episode is to explain the situation because I don't like the situation. The situation of what happened yesterday. And if you guys want to call it drama, you guys can call it drama, but I'm here to offer my side. And I'm better at doing the talking in long form for you guys to understand where I'm coming from with my comment, Andrew's rebuttal, and just maybe one little thing that I want to address JD about, and then open it up to giving a perspective of what could have been great for the IWC, because JD's idea, even though it was started by AEW Disciplinary, that Twitter account, which is very awesome, very truthful, with asking the IWC their honest comments about AEW and why they're no longer a fan, or are they a fan, or just their thoughts about AEW and like what rubs them the wrong way. You know, it started with him because that tweet had popped up, and then JD also asked, and no, this is not a compare, contrast kind of thing. This is not like a how dare ya. This is giving the fans context for what happened. And there's more context too that I'll get into because I want to talk a little bit about AEW as well, but I want to address this because the issue is on how we talk to each other and how we dismiss each other to make the other one feel very prompted up when that wasn't even my intent at all. It really wasn't. But we'll get into that in a little bit. But just to go back to JD's idea of creating a video about reading the honest comments of wrestling fans about AEW would have been very, very beneficial for the IWC, because if you know the IWC is such a cesspool, right? A cesspool of random takes, a cesspool of engagement farming, a cesspool of saying things out of pocket, saying things out of left field, and basically punching down on all types of accounts and doxing people and all this kind of stuff, right? Like, if you know how bad and chaotic the IWC is when it comes to wrestling takes and when it comes to their precious all elite wrestling, your video and your live stream, if you would have had different panelists to be there, and maybe Andrew there too to play devil's advocate, it would have created a ripple effect in the IWC that you truly want to see the change happen in AEW and to truly see if Tony Khan is going to fix it. Because let's look at this big picture and then I'll go through everything else. But I really wanted to get this out of the way of that. It could have been a marketing genius to get different people in the content creator space who have been at the forefront to call Tony Khan out when he needed to be called out, to talk about AEW and how to fix things, to talk about the problems in AEW. It would have been very beneficial to gather around the voices, have them on your show. And you do know that if someone is being very illogical, if someone is trying to talk over somebody, if someone is trying to be rude and disrespectful to yourself, the show, and even Tony Khan and the topic and the panelists, you can kick them out. You can use Restream.io or StreamYards, where you give the panelists a link that they join and they come on to the show. And if they're being very, very rude, you could just kick them out. And your audience and your atmosphere and your energy can still be saved in that regard. You can also check people's profiles on Twitter. My profile says what I do and what I did and where I come from and me working at WWE and all of that. Like, I have nothing to hide. So you can check people's profiles and message them and be like, hey, let me see your back catalog of you talking about AEW. You don't have to watch all the videos. You could watch maybe some of the videos and get an idea for how they talk, or even on the internet when they reply to you, you can see how they talk. But because you get so many comments on everything, obviously you might not want to do this. So cool. But if you are going to put out a project idea, like getting the best comments, and you said that you'll pick the best comments for a video, meaning that it's going to be original content, meaning that it's going to be maybe a 30-minute video talking about the best comments that you got, but you got 500 of them. You decided to then think of the better idea to do a live stream. And that was genius, to call it State of AEW, to talk about AEW. And we could finally have a truthful conversation with different voices in the community that have grievances with AEW. You know, you could have probably hit up Raj. Raj would have went on to talk about AEW. You could have hit up any other voices in the IWC that talk about AEW and give their grievances and also make it a good show and also have very, very good points to be like, look, it's the behavior of the AEW fans that we see on Twitter. Well, let's trace it back to when this started. And it started with Tony Khan because he had this idea of playing the invisible victim and also playing the invisible war. And then fans or people or bots that are on the internet 24/7 are like, yes, we are in a war and I have to protect AEW at all costs. I am their knight in shining armor, and anything that WWE does is bad, and they want brownie points from Tony Khan. So you could have done something like that on the panel where we talk about an issue, we trace it back to where it started, and then from there we could have said, hey, this is how we fix it. And we fix it by Tony Khan, get off your phone. Do not tweet at us. We're just here talking about it. We're going to be in our bubble. You should be in your own bubble. When I said you, I mean Tony Khan. Tony Khan should be in his own bubble to produce a better product. And that goes for the AEW wrestlers that tend to come after us, that they basically try to put people down, and that's a bad look on their company. So you could have got different voices in such a short amount of time because you interact with a lot of people. This is the first time that both you and Andrew are interacting with me, and hi, how's it going? It's going fantastic. This is the first time that you guys are interacting with me, and I am not going to stay silent because I think that this was going to be a very, very good idea. But here is my issue. And again, it is not a personal issue. It is a situational issue. And my only issue is with Andrew and how he rebutted back to me. JD, you're fine. Okay. I still have respect for you. There are fans that think that I am a fan of you and that I defended you from Tony Khan, but that's not really the case. Like, I see what you do. You are dedicated to what you do and you love what you do. It's just how you deliver on your explanations and getting fiery up. It does come on like a little too strong. Just saying, just comes on a little too strong. That's why I don't really watch all of your videos. If it gets recommended to me on YouTube, I will watch from time to time. But for the most part, it's just a lot of yelling and energy. And I get it that you're passionate. I totally get that side. I really, really do. But it's just the delivery that people have a problem with. So with that being said, I am going to say it again that this is not a personal issue. This is a situational issue because of how it turned out. So for anyone that wants to know about the situation, how it started and how it's going, here is what happened. Over the weekend, AEW Twitter account put out the backstage segment that included Private Party with Daniel Garcia and Orange Cassidy, and it was a backstage segment. JD chimes in with his opinion, and by the way, if you don't like his opinion, just scroll on by. You don't have to waste any energy trying to tell him he's wrong, he's right, or whatever it is, or you come out of left field and left pocket. And that's not me defending him. That's just like a general statement of if you don't like something, just scroll on by. It's okay, because if you are not contributing to some type of value to be given to JD or even myself or anyone else out there where you can have a wonderful conversation without name calling and all the rest of the stuff, then scroll on by. Because if you don't have anything to give extra for context or perspective, then it's not needed. But anyway, JD gives his opinion. I agree with it that I don't really think that these are the guys in that backstage interview that is going to take down Jon Moxley's group. There is no way that's going to happen. AEW has not spent a good enough amount of time to create the biggest babyface that they currently need right now to take down Jon Moxley's group. And by the way, after this, I will be talking about Jon Moxley and his group and how horrible it is and why it doesn't make any sense. But that's for the next video and the next podcast episode. And JD and Andrew, you guys are more than welcome to listen to me talk about that and break it down and give my reasons why. So JD gives his opinion, and then here comes the quote unquote, and I'm using air quotes here, fan. Name with a bunch of numbers, got made in the summer of 2024, 8 followers, and that bot says, "We believe in Daniel Garcia." And then JD rebuttals and basically says, "No, you don't," laugh out loud, and basically uses the word stupid. JD was not calling this bot stupid. JD was using stupid for the situation and for that. And then not too long after that, here comes Tony Khan to basically rebuttal to JD and says to him, "Why are you calling that fan stupid? Everyone has different beliefs and opinions." And then JD and Tony Khan go back and forth. And people on the internet was like, Tony Khan cooked JD and JD cooked Tony Khan and all this kind of stuff. And I actually quote tweeted Tony Khan to basically give the rundown because, man, how are you living in a glass house and you want to call out the one line that JD says to the bot that it's stupid, that the situation is stupid. But for the past 5 years, and I think that we should have had a conversation about this if you would have led with, okay, we're going to do a panelist. You could have asked around. It didn't have to be so soon that you wanted to do this live stream. But I totally get it. When emotions are ramped up, you want to go live and you want to get it all out. And that could be like a form of therapy, which is cool. But for something like this, you could have asked around to be like, hey, who are good choices to talk about the state of AEW? So I basically said something. You retweeted it. And which, thank you for doing that, by the way. And because it's true, for the past 5 years, we have let the behavior of Tony Khan just go under the rug. And I think that with your state of AEW, it would have worked to talk about the behavior part of Tony Khan, because that needs to be addressed, as well as all the stuff that he hasn't taken accountability for. And then there could have been a small little segment of, well, how do we fix AEW to get a huge babyface to defeat Jon Moxley? Because the point of this is that JD did not see Daniel Garcia or any of the other wrestlers as viable threats to Jon Moxley's group, because JD watches the show. So you guys might think that I'm like praising JD here and I could just hear it in my head and whatnot. But no, this is context, because I was on board with an idea of getting the IWC together to talk about AEW and why we have grievances and why we have daily arguments on the IWC. See, this is where in my tweet I said that this could have changed perceptions, because JD is known to be the loudmouth. Everybody throws all the names at him, and he doesn't care. He takes it like a champ. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. However, when you change up your tune, you basically sort of let the IWC down, and you basically just switch up because you went safe. Why are you going safe in the world of content creation where you could do anything and controversy creates cash? Now, I'm not saying to like get the bottom of the barrel commentators that end up, just hating AEW as a personality trait. I'm saying that controversy creates cash depending on who you get to really talk about the truth of AEW and what we see from the outside. And someone like me who's working on the indies, you work on the indies too and do commentary for House of Glory, we have a different perspective of promotions and how promotions are run and how fans interact in the real world versus the online world. Because if you go to any promotion in real life, real time, if you're going to over New Jersey or House of Glory or MLW and you interact with actual people, you're not going to get into the arguments of the IWC. So I thought that it was a really good idea for this to happen. Now, let's get into the tweets. Okay. So here's another timeline. So after that whole thing of Tony Khan and JD going back and forth, JD puts out a tweet saying that for video purposes, he wants honest replies. Best ones will be in a video he is going to be working on today. And that was 22 hours ago. And then he follows it up with the premise of these videos. If you were once a fan of AEW and have watched less or stopped watching altogether, what is the reason? So he wanted honest feedback. He had gotten 500 comments, probably over 500 comments. My comment included, because I decided to do a thread because I thought this was going to help the IWC, the internet wrestling community. I thought it was going to help us because it is getting annoying and it is getting very chaotic that the IWC gets this bad rep because everybody loves misery. Everybody retweets misery. Everyone retweets the engagement farmers. And that tells the wrestlers and the other wrestlers who have bigger platforms that are on like Busted Open and that are on other platforms and that they have a huge following, they automatically put a label on us and deem us toxic. They automatically put a label on us and they group us all together and they think that we all don't know. When we have been watching wrestling, loving wrestling, we go to the events, we buy the merchandise, the ones who truly buy the merchandise, because there are people out there that will say they do it, but they don't. But they also group us together and it's like, aren't we tired of having this label on us? Like, shouldn't we be a better community where we're trying to have change in professional wrestling? But when you still have gatekeepers trying to gatekeep others and trying to dismiss others, it's sort of sad that we're still in the same state. So again, doing this video, if you would have followed through with doing this video and the follow-up tweet about, hey, I was thinking about doing a live stream and bringing people on, right, to talk about it, that would have not given us the labels anymore, because we would have had a level-headed conversation about AEW and it would have been on your platform and your perception would have started changing. And when I say your perception, I definitely just mean JD. That his perception in the IWC would have started changing, because then it truly means that he does care and he wants Tony Khan to fix it. But how do you have Tony Khan fixing it if you're just going to invite your buddy and the safe option there? It's not going to happen. You need different voices to end up having change, because if you have the same person over and over and over and over again, and yes, I know that you and Andrew collaborated on TNT and you guys created 50 episodes. I follow everything that I can on the internet, on YouTube, on different types of content creators. I follow everything to the best of my ability. So yes, I do know that you guys worked on TNT, but if you guys are still doing this together, what new revelations are you going to come to? What new conclusions are you going to come to if you're just going to say the same things that you probably already said in the last 50 episodes? That is what is very frustrating about the situation, is that you gave an opportunity to the IWC, the wrestling community. You gave an opportunity. People gave you 500 comments. There were no arguments in those comments. The same thing with AEW disciplinary. No arguments in his same tweet that asks the same kind of question. No arguments. So if you were to randomly choose people that have a good head on their shoulders and bring them onto your show in such a short amount of time, you would have had a very good conversation. The fact that you went the safe route and then duped us all was sort of like, whoa. And that's why my tweet came in like that. But my tweet was not with the intention of getting anybody mad. It was just, I saw the writing on the wall. You had an opportunity to change your perception in the IWC by bringing on different voices, even if it wasn't mine. You know, like I said earlier, you could have brought on Raj. Raj has really good points. You could have even brought on Eric Bischoff to make it that much more powerful. You could have brought on Vince Russo to talk about it. You could have brought on anybody else in the IWC. But instead, what happened is that as soon as you put out, hey, you're thinking about doing a live stream of bringing people on, here comes Andrew to insert himself and say that I'll do it. And it's like, well, didn't he want new voices? And I'm not saying new as in like, you know, Andrew is not new, or like how he phrased it. I'll get into the tweets in a little bit, but like, I wasn't saying that he wasn't new. It's just that I already know the history of what goes on in the IWC. So for Andrew to just come in and be like, I'll do it, you could have DM'd JD for that. You could have DM'd him. I'm just saying. And then for JD to turn around and be like, hey, wrestling community, what do we think about Andrew doing this to talk about the state of AEW? That's when I knew that you probably chose him already, rather than giving people an opportunity to really talk about AEW, because Tony Khan needs to hear different voices and not the same voices that are sort of in this gated community that it's only their friends. Because if you are just doing the same podcast episodes over and over and over and over again with somebody, nothing new is going to come out of it, meaning no new ideas. You're not going to grow anymore. You're going to just stay stagnant. And this is what social media does. This is what content creation does. If you're not expanding and networking with others, even if like you're very weary about the person, you could just talk to the person in DMs and be like, oh, how's it going? What's your take on this? What's your take on that? Or listen in on a live stream, or listen in on a random podcast episode that they just recently put out. Like, that's how you make connections. My thing is that I've always seen people in the IWC stick to the people that they know because that's the safest. But for both of us, JD, for being New Yorkers, we know not to play it safe. You shouldn't be playing it safe anyway. I mean, New York is one whole big risk. And by the way, I am a born true New Yorker in New York City. So, we're both New Yorkers. We know the risk. We know how con mans happen out here in New York City. So we have that. So I don't know why you want to play it safe when you had the best idea that could have started turning the perception on not only you and giving you a bigger fan base and giving you bigger brownie points, because I can't figure out the other word I want to say, and also to basically tell other people in the wrestling community that we're not idiots when we talk about this, when we talk about professional wrestling, when we give our takes and their logical takes and we give feedback of like, okay, so let's fix it. This is how we fix it. And this is what just bothers me about the situation. So that's the context of it, right? So as soon as I realized that JD has already chosen Andrew, because again, that's a safe bet, and that's me being honest. Here is what I said in my tweet. I used the upside down smiley emoji and I said, could have asked someone new, in parentheses, I was going to vote me to actually be truthful about the state of AEW. By the way, I close parentheses after me. A different perspective is better. Shrug. A new voice can help turn perceptions, right? So basically, why I tweeted that was, again, I saw the writing on the wall. I was like, okay, he chose Andrew because if you're asking the wrestling community, hey, what do we think about Andrew coming on for this live stream, when in the previous tweet, you were thinking of having like a panel and inviting people and making it a live stream and making it very interactive. And then Andrew comes in to insert himself. And it's like, if that was the case, you could have talked to Andrew in DMs to be like, hey, I'm thinking of a video. Look at all these comments about AEW and the state of AEW. Would you want to go through with me these comments and we talk about it? That could have been an idea on its own. You didn't have to string us along, and that's where I feel like everybody was strung along, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey guys, what about Andrew? So that was my response to that, right? And then here comes Andrew. By the way, dude, like, there was no need to write me an emotional essay. No need to do that, okay? Because technically, my tweet was not supposed to cause any kind of anger towards you. It was definitely indirect towards you, but it was more for JD, because I think that now JD should at least try to change his perception of what the IWC sees him at, even though he wants to just remain as is. But if you remain as is, that can only last for so long and it becomes stagnant. And I want to see all content creators grow, because what JD says in the wrestling community, it makes sense. It's a lot of yelling, but it makes sense. And I don't agree with everything that JD says, but there are things that are like, yeah, why are we doing that, AEW? Why are we having the switch up between babyface and heel? You know, so I agree. I agree that there are certain voices in the wrestling community that needs to stay around because they are the ones that say stuff that you're thinking, but you're too afraid to say it. And again, it might seem like I'm giving praise to JD. And by the way, I'm not trying to chase clout here. I'm trying to put things into perspective of like, we need voices. We need voices that aren't afraid to really go against the grain. JD is one of those. Again, my problem is the situation, what happened. My problem is how Andrew kind of responded to me. But I want to make that clear that when I say that a new voice can help turn perceptions, is that my voice, other people's voices, if we all like talk about AEW with a little bit of pushback, with a little bit of like, how do we fix it? JD is going to be the talk of the town because he decided to create an actual video and an actual live stream that can help the whole perception of the wrestling community. So this is what Andrew had to say to me, and I'm reading it verbatim on Twitter. So Andrew just really says this to me. You don't even know me or my opinions yet. I'm going to stop there. Yes, I do, because I do also watch your content. I do also remember that you put out a video saying that effective immediately you are leaving TNT, which is Tuesday Night Titans, with JD, that you decided to step down from that role. I saw that video. I also saw the videos of you talking about AEW Dynamite right after AEW Dynamite ended and praising AEW and giving your thoughts on AEW. So yeah, your stuff comes up on my feed. So yes, I do know who you are and I do know your opinions. You're saying that because I am not new. He put that in quotations. It will be better content-driven show with you involved. Help turn the perceptions in quotations, and it would be more. And it would be a more honest show. That's wild. Wild is in capitalizations. First of all, that's a lot of extra words. That's not my intent. I was not trying to make myself look like I want the spotlight, but that sounds like you want the spotlight. I don't know, dude, like, why are you including extra words? Why are you including extra thoughts that were not there? You could have taken my tweet as just face value and scroll on by. And if this is what you really thought, then like, it really shouldn't have bothered you. It should have just been like, oh, she's just talking shit. Let her talk shit. Let it roll off your shoulder. But, don't try to twist my words into you're saying this. No, I clearly just said could have asked someone new to actually be truthful about the state of AEW. You know, like, you know, he wanted new voices because he asked for honest comments for the original idea to make a video. So he said honest, and they responded with honest comments. So that's why I said that, you know, it could have been cool to have someone new to speak honestly and openly about AEW and get to the heart of the problems that JD wants Tony Khan to fix. He goes on to say, this is the problem, not only with content streamers in this space, but also with society. See how you double down on something that it's not there. It's really not there. That sounds like a personal issue. And again, this podcast is not about personal issues. This rebuttal that I'm doing is not about personal issues. That sounds like a personal issue, dude. Like, why are you grouping me in with this problem? If we had a problem, you could have came into my DMs and we could have talked about it. But no, I am not included in that problem with content streamers and in society. I'm not included in that. He goes on to say, and this is all in capital letters, so he is yelling at me at this point. I am going to get mad and bash someone I don't know because why are they getting noticed and not me for an opportunity or a show? My ideas are better. Whoa. Sir, that is projecting. That is totally projecting. This is why I didn't like the situation. This is why I'm a little bit more upset about the situation and not you personally, okay? It's a situation. You decided to go from 0 to 100 by saying something here that is not true. I'm not upset. I saw the writing on the wall. I know that I wasn't even going to get picked anyway. And by the way, whenever someone opens up an opportunity, like the way JD did it, or any other person that I have commented on their tweet that presented an opportunity, I always throw my hat in. You want to know why I throw my name in? It's because I am my own cheerleader. Because I know about the subject matter. I know about AEW. You know, right after WWE let me go in 2018, you know what I did? I went to the big event and I met the Young Bucks. I had the Young Bucks sign their book. I had 2 books. They signed their book. I chatted with them for a little bit. I met Cody Rhodes. I met Brandy. I have a signed picture of Brandy. I also met Kenny Omega. So I know about wrestling. I know my stuff. I can hold my own in the IWC, and I am not trying to take other people's opportunities, even though you just coming in and being like, hey, I would love to do that. That's taking an opportunity from the original idea that JD had. And that's why I said what I said, but I didn't say it to you though. But you took issue with it when you could have just been like, oh, she's talking shit, I'm going to scroll on by. He goes on to say, I won't sit here and tell you that your content or opinions are fake, lousy, or come from a place of malice, considering I have not consumed any of your content. Well, you kind of just did. You kind of think that my comments is coming from a place of malice because you would not have tried to put words in my mouth about, and also trying to tell me how I feel and trying to project what kind of emotion I'm feeling towards this by saying the all in caps, I'm not going to get mad and bash someone I don't know because why are they getting noticed and not me for an opportunity or a show. My ideas are better. That's basically what you just did. You sat there, you told me how I felt. You basically pulled words out of thin air and emotion out of thin air to make it seem as if like I'm mad and bitter that you got the opportunity. I didn't get the opportunity. But did you not in the previous tweets just swoop in and be like, I could do that? We could have an honest conversation about AEW. I could do that. It's all on Twitter. People can see it. And then JD comes in with, hey guys, what do you think about Andrew coming back on to talk about the state of AEW? That's not how we grow as a community. That's not how we fix this problem that you supposedly have with content streamers in this space and also with society. So because I indirectly called you out for calling your spot and getting into the spotlight and having JD have the wrestling community choose when it was supposed to be open-ended for anyone to probably join, because again, we want to uplift the community. We want to take the labels off of the community because the community is being bogged down by all the labels. And there you go, grouping everybody together, because I'm just like, oh, well, you could have used a new voice. Like we've heard this before. We've seen this before. Why are we getting the same thing? Why are we not getting anything new? So the last thing he says is, I wish you nothing but happiness and success in that field, though. I wish you happiness and I wish you stop projecting, because this is one thing that I don't tolerate, is this kind of BS back to me when it really did not need to go that very, very far. So my problem, again, is with the situation and with how Andrew responded to me. And of course, public opinion is going to have like whatever they say, right? But, like I said, if you thought that I was just talking shit, then you could have just scrolled on by, because it makes no sense to give me an emotional essay that had nothing to do with what I said and then trying to create drama when there is really no drama to be created, because I just said that, we couldn't use a new voice. We could have gotten new perspectives and new perceptions, and perceptions was more for JD. Not even for you, Andrew. It was more for JD. I just didn't like the fact that you came in, called your shot, and then automatically I already knew you were going to be on the show. Just because it's like, well, you guys are friends. You guys, are besties, which is cool. I have nothing against that. But again, how is anybody in this community ever going to treat it like an actual community and start to learn again how to have logical conversations, start to learn again how to treat each other with respect? And when we're talking about issues, we're talking about issues, and we're not going off on a tangent that has nothing to do with issues. And, it's to teach the community of how to be a community. And this would have been the perfect example to change the perception of JD, because Dax keeps coming in and keeps attacking him. Everybody comes in and keeps attacking him. But I understand that negativity breeds the numbers and the money that rolls in. I understand all that. But aren't you tired of negativity? Don't you want some good in the IWC? Don't you want something that you can be proud of and have like a respectable credibility and name attached to something when you call it out and you're like, hey, we did a very good thing. Let's continue to do a very good thing. But no, you want to be like, this is the problem with society and content creators. Maybe it's you. I don't know. But that's just me. I'm not trying to start a war, but I'm just trying to look at it like maybe it's you that you have to look inside yourself and realize what you want to do, how you want to present yourself, and how you want to present your content. Because also, when AEW London was happening, you created a narrative for yourself. That's why after my bestest buddy in the whole wide world, which I love to death, and it's Duke from Duke Loves Wrestling, and he came to my defense because I couldn't get back into my Twitter account for some odd reason. I couldn't get new messages because I really thought the whole entire mob would definitely come after me. But I love Duke, and I thank him for coming to my corner. And, he was mentioning, some things. And you can see those tweets on Twitter as well. But then 32 minutes after all of that, yesterday, you put out a voice message on Twitter to say that Tony Khan don't pay you, Triple H don't pay you, WWE don't pay you, AEW don't pay you, that you get media credentials, like no one flies you out to places. However, I do remember that when AEW London was, right around the corner, so many months ago, you had first tweeted out a tweet that said, oh, I wish I can cover AEW. I wish I can be there. But you tag Tony Khan and like AEW and be like, oh, I wish you guys the best. Have a great time, right? So I saw that tweet pop up on my timeline and, I scrolled on by because why am I going to comment, right? All right, cool. So that's embedded into my mind. And then the day of, you're in the back of a car, you have your sunglasses on, you make a video, you pretend to be this villain, and you're like, hey guys, what's up? Look where I'm at. So you created a narrative of basically telling people that AEW paid for your flight. Because if you couldn't go, you wanted to get some type of sympathy. And then when you get there, you make a video on it. So who really has the problem? Who really is the problem with content creators and like in this space of the wrestling community? I'm just being very honest. I'm just like really putting pieces together and giving a perspective. So again, this is not a personal attack on you. This is just analyzing your content and what you do on your Twitter account that I'm just raising questions. Like, that's a narrative that you created. And then when people came at you to be like, oh, you are bought and paid for because of how the timeline situation happened, you want to say, no, it's not true. Like, this is why I say that we could have had an honest conversation about AEW without no agendas, without any kind of controversies to try and, win something or whatever the case may be, because I don't even know what that is. I don't know why we have to play pretend to get likes, to get people on our side when honesty is the best way to go. And especially if you care about AEW as being a viable company in the sea and the land of professional wrestling that we all love, why are we trying to pretend to be people that we are not? Why are we trying to pretend to be people that want to be likable, that want to be hated, that want to be a villain, that want to play gimmicks? This was the perfect opportunity for JD of New York, with all of his experience in creating live streams and creating content and having the platform that he has. This could have been the greatest thing to be had, is a honest conversation, because if he truly wants to see AEW succeed and grow like everybody else, it would have been perfect. But, marketing, retweets, the numbers, it's all fake. It's all fake. Now, I did say I wanted to address JD's tweet, which is his response to Andrew here, right? So I did want to address something, because it's just one of those things that, kind of bothers me in a way. And again, nothing here is personal. Everything here is situational. Okay, so JD tells me, Marie, in all fairness, Drew and I worked on close to 50 episodes together with Tuesday Night Titans. Yes, I know that. Thank you. I trust him is in all caps, in that he will bring a fair and balanced take, as well as comfortable environment for me and my audience. Well, earlier in the podcast, I explained how you could still have that, because you are the master of your own show and you could kick people out. Also, I do remember that when Andrew stepped down, that people were starting to spread rumors and stuff, and you and him had to play PR. So I don't know. I mean, that video of him stepping down from the show is kind of questioning. So I don't know, but it's not my lane to question that, but it was very, very, very questionable. He goes on to say, working with someone new on a shorthand time frame such as this is not right for this current topic. Well, a couple of things. First of all, why are you trying to do this big project in such a short amount of time when you have over 500 comments to get through? Don't you think that it should take a breather to sort of be a very, very good show with very good people, and that you can easily just talk to people and conversate with people and see who's a good fit? But I also wrote a thread in your original tweet asking for honest stuff, and I gave a rundown of who I am, what I do, and my thoughts on AEW, and even my video that went viral about the AEW and New Japan partnership that you could have quickly just took a look at. But okay, cool. I'm new. It's on short notice. All right. He goes on to say, if you want a statement read through us on air, I'll be happy to consider it, but this is a topic my most valued and trusted crew to be a part of. And that is the issue. That is the situation issue, where, yes, while I do agree that you should always have your trusted crew with you to be on live streams, to be in videos, to talk with, to create a roundtable, but if you guys are saying the same talking points that you've been doing for the past 50 episodes, what new information and value are you giving to the audience and to yourselves? By having the same crew to talk about the state of AEW with as you do on your regular nights is not going to change any perceptions. It's not going to bring in any new credibility. It's not going to bring in any new talking points. And I know this from experience because I've seen it. I've dealt with it where we had the same people on roundtables, and I've been a guest on various other podcasts and podcast shows. It's the same talking points. We learn nothing new. I try to at least bring some type of new information to the table depending on the topic, and that's about it. But for the most part, if you continue to have something like this, which is very, very, very valuable, the same talking points for the same people, you're not going to bring in any value. You're not going to change anybody's minds. And then it's going to be the same thing come the next day. You and Tony Khan are going to continue to fight. And you're like, Tony Khan, fix it. But Tony Khan is like, no, JD, I'm not going to fix anything. I'm going to continue to argue with you. Like, I'm trying to help the wrestling community out here and help you out and change your perception and actually, would like some change. But cool. You can run with your crew. It's totally cool, man. He goes on to say in this tweet, you make it seem like I wouldn't be open to discussion with you at all. Not if you automatically was like, hey, wrestling community, what about Andrew? When you did that, I was like, yeah, I automatically knew you weren't going to try to get new voices. And like I said, I always throw my name into the hat because I am a cheerleader for myself and I am very passionate about AEW changing for the better. And if this was going to be an opportunity to have AEW listen and Tony Khan listen with different voices that can get points across, that can have good conversations, that can provide ideas on how to fix the current issues that you have issues with, to give ideas so they could take it, So yeah, it sort of feels like, you picked Andrew because he was a safe bet. And then to tell me that I think that you wouldn't be open to discussion. I think you would be open to discussion, but to automatically just be like, hey guys, what about him? After he automatically threw his name into the hat without considering the focus of what you wanted to do, JD, the idea that you wanted to do, just to throw his name in there, is sort of like, you opened it up to the public, but then you closed it on us. Do you see the situation? And then the last part is, set something up, anyone for that matter, and I would do it. Now, I will say this, and I will be very, very, very truthful. If we happen to collab sometime in the future, then it'll happen. But I don't know, because that felt like a letdown. And this is me being very, 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 very honest, And this is how I see it. This is how it felt. And like I said, I don't have a problem with you. I don't have a problem with Andrew. I have a problem with the situation, and I have a problem with the way that Andrew handled the situation. You responding to me is totally fine. There is just some stuff that it's like, you say that, but in the flip side of it, it's like, well, this is the action that you did that doesn't align with what you're telling me. If you truly were considering new voices to be put on your live stream for this very important topic that everybody in the IWC has a problem with, meaning the state of AEW, everybody has a problem with it. If you were truly considering bringing on new voices to try something new, you would have not just automatically picked Andrew or tried to seem like, maybe you're going to use the fan votes to maybe pick Andrew if the fans want it that way. I've seen that before too, where you ask the community like, hey, what do you think about this co-host? Should we have this co-host? Hey, wrestling community, what do you say? And you do that so that way the fans could feel like they have a voice. And I get that. I'm a content creator too. I would do that too, but I would not just let what happened in the situation of him coming in to just elect himself and then that happened. That's my problem. So again, I'm going to make it very, very clear that my problem is not with both of you guys on a personal level. It's with a situational level, and I will say this other thing too, is that sometimes you got to take risk to connect other people's audiences, because the more time that we sit in the same circles, we talk in the same circles, we collaborate with the same people, the more that you're just going to stay stagnant. And I say that as a general point. There is no reason to stay stagnant on such an important topic like this. And it's kind of a little sad that you would think that myself as a content creator, even if you don't consume my content or not, but you see my tweets are very like, hey, this shouldn't be happening. I call out people and I basically say my opinions, because I will always be an advocate for myself, and I will always be an advocate for my opinions, and they will always be on Twitter, and people don't like what I have to say, and that's totally fine. But to just continue to be in the same circles and to sort of dismiss people who's been in the trenches of professional wrestling and in the trenches of the wrestling community, like to assume a lot, man. Like, don't assume about anybody in the IWC because you don't know their background. Even though like I have my background on like display for like everybody to see. Like, I say it all the time. I am very proud of what I do in the wrestling business. I am very proud of what I do in the wrestling community. And I just honestly thought that this could have been different. I honestly approached this as like, oh my God, we're going to have some change in the IWC. But no, it doesn't feel that way. It all came crashing down. So my problem is situational. My problem is not personal. And I have to make that clear because I can feel that maybe the commenters are just going to try to rip me a new one, which is not anything new because I had said in your previous tweet that my name got dragged through the mud for Forbidden Door. And guess what? We don't talk about Forbidden Door anymore. We don't talk about Forbidden Door 1. So, you know. And by the way, Andrew, please do not take offense to any of this. Please do not get upset at any of this. This is just me bringing stuff to light, questioning things. And again, it's not personal. And JD is not personal. JD is going to continue to make content, whether or not he listens to this or, you know, he's going to go on his merry way. And I wish him all the best. He has a lot of success. I just think that, you know, he can tone it down a little bit with the yelling in certain parts, but I totally get it. That passion is there. But that's just like my issue. That's not even like a big issue. But the thing is that he's going to continue to make stuff and he's going to continue to get a big platform. And, you know, that's cool. As far as Andrew, like, I don't know, dude. Just know that I am not someone to be talked to like that, and just know that I am no one's punching bag, and that felt like a punching bag kind of response to sort of try to dismiss me and put me in my place and try to make me an example of what you have a problem with that you haven't identified yet, and you haven't went through the healing of what it is that you find so problematic. And, you know, I'm always open to have discussions with anyone and everyone, but that was very concerning. It really was, dude. It was concerning because, again, if you thought that I was talking shit, then you could have just scrolled on by. I'm just saying, you could have just scrolled on by. And I will say this, that my tweet was more for JD than Andrew. It was more for JD than Andrew. And I hope that this podcast episode brings some light to the situation and also have people think that this could have been something great because JD has a big platform. Anyone else that I talked to behind the scenes wasn't really going to do it. And I hope that people that listen to this, including JD and Andrew, also get a different perspective of that. I am one person in this sea of the wrestling community, but I am tired of the constant arguments. I am tired of the constant people raising up all the miserable people, even if they don't believe in what they tweet. And this could have been a really good game changer for AEW. This could have been a really good game changer for the brand of JD from New York. And again, I'm not trying to praise JD, but like, if you look at it from a marketing standpoint, it would have been a very, very good PR move to have different voices in the community, because if you have the same voices, JD, and I know I keep stretching this out, but think about it this way, JD. If you have the same voices to talk about the same talking points, Tony Khan is still going to come after you. If you have a panel of different voices that have different grievances with AEW, Tony Khan will back off. Like, I just was thinking about the big picture here, not the small picture, the big picture. And I was looking out for your brand because I was like, this is a good idea. Well, you know, good luck with everything, JD. Good luck with everything, Andrew. Good luck with everything, IWC. I only want the best for us as a community. That's all I want. But again, good luck to everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been an episode of the Square Circle Podcast by yours truly, Marie Shadows. If you enjoyed this podcast episode, give it a like, give it a comment, share it out with people. And I hope that I gave a perspective as to why I didn't like the situation and gave my honest thoughts and everything involved. And I want to say thank you again for listening, and I will see you guys on the next one.